Gentlemen, have you ever wondered why some personalities and some people are more charming than others? Well, there are several factors involved, like how they speak, what kind of personality they have, and maybe as well how they dress. But if we want to just nail it down to just only one thing on what they mastered, and that is body language. So today I'm going to share with you 5 practical tips that you can implement right now to develop a powerful body language. So, what are these 5 tips? Now, before I actually get into body language, let's first of all understand why is actually body language one of the most impactful ways on how you can build connection to your audience, to the other person that you're speaking with, and how this can make you even more charming. So, we have designed here so-called communication pie chart. So maybe you've seen already this kind of chart, like there's something to do with the way how you speak and body language and maybe what you say. But the interesting fact is that whatever the content that we actually say, it's only valued 7% of the overall communication pie. So it's only 7% of what we actually say in our sentences is actually valued by the other person. So this is maybe not that impactful in terms of charmousness, if that's a word. So the bigger part of the pie over here, it's actually body language, and that builds up to 55%. And to fill it up, that the verbal communication we have is around 38%. So I know these are not like the percentages, they vary based on each situation, but it's just to understand that body language has the biggest impact in terms of communication, more than verbal speaking and the text. And or the specific sentences that we actually say. So how does this implement? So if we just imagine we're in an interview and we only mastered our body language skills, then 1 out of 2 interviews will pass 1 out of 2 interviews, like every second interview will pass if we master just communication skills in terms of body language, which is fascinating. Or, for example, if you would like to close a deal or close a sale or something like that, what people buy is not so much of what you say over there, and not so much how you say it, but how your appearance is, how you are as a personality. That's why most of the time people say, we don't buy the product, we buy the personality that is convinced of the product presenting to you. So, that's 55%, and as well it counts as well in dating. So if you would like to date a woman that you love or would like to get to know, then 1 out of 2 women that you actually meet would like to go on a date with you. Now, okay, this is not guarantee on all these kind of things happening, but it's just to see how powerful body language is. And today I want to go over 5 different kind of ways on how you can implement right now in your life these tips, and then you're gonna see the results. And it'll be very interesting of how that will impact your life. So if you see some differences, some things that you've seen, then you can comment below, and we're looking forward to see what kind of progress you have made by just implementing these 5 things. So, long story short, let's get started. Tip number 1 is be like Iron Man. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, there are many reasons to be like Iron Man. I mean, it's first of all a very cool action figure, but the other thing is, imagine that you are Iron Man. Because there's one thing what Iron Man has, he has as well a torch, like this kind of shining thing out there. And in terms of communication, what I learned is working very well. If you just imagine having your torch on your chest, in the center of your chest, and trying to point that torch to the person that you're speaking or to the public. Like if you're a public speaker, Don't look with your eyes in the public, but look through your torch at the public. And you know what? Your body language changes immediately. Like, look at this. I'm just only now speaking out of my chest, and this builds up the whole body language in terms of putting the shoulders back, having a more open body language, and as well makes you feel more confident and actually improves as well your tone of voice. So that's another thing. Imagine that you are in this Ironman suit and speaking out of your chest or out of your heart. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, maybe you see this kind of people that are, well, that maybe have a good impression of how they appear and all that, but they're walking with their legs, if you understand what I mean. So they're kind of like robots, okay? They're just walking with their legs, but not with their whole body. So tip number 2 is use or walk with your body. Walk with your body. And how you do this? Well, first of all, not that arrogant where you just, hey, how are you, and all that, and working like this, but it's more about using as well your hands, as well your shoulders, and find a natural way to walk. I mean, you don't want to be fake, okay? You like to just include your way of walking with your full body. It's the same as with punching, okay? If you just punch like this, the effect is not that strong. But if you use your hip and your whole torso and as well your shoulders, you have a far more effective punch. So we don't want to punch no people around. We just only want to use our full body when we are walking around. And you will feel as well awesome. So try this out, particularly with good fitting clothes that works like a charm. Number 3. Tip number 3 is you have to make sure that you are more relaxed. Okay. You want to be more calm and, like, for example, when somebody will call out your name from the back or somewhere, they say, hey fella, or hey gentleman, like you are a gentleman, then typically what people do, they would just look back. What a real gentleman does, he takes his time and looks on the side and then responds slower than normal. Now, unless you are in an emergency situation, then of course it might be different, but typically try to be less reactive on so many things. We're now so overwhelmed with social media and this kind of WhatsApp messages, all that we tend to activate a lot of stress hormones, and we don't want to do that. We want to use our stress hormones when we actually have the stress. So let us save that and practice a little bit being less reactive to so many things and be more laid back and relaxed. So tip number 3 is be more relaxed. Okay, so I mean, just by following these 3 tips, you are gonna see a big impact in your everyday life. But however, I have 2 more waiting for you. Now, the 4th one, tip number 4 is try not to play a lot with your hands. What do you mean by this? Well, imagine you are you're in a business meeting, for example, and you are sitting down next to your colleague, or it's maybe a potential customer, for example. And if you are sitting down there and twitching, like playing around with the menu and then with the sugar packages or anything, this all shows nervousness and is extremely agitating for the other person, particularly if that's a woman. And they actually react extreme on these kind of small details. Like if I were always playing with this pen, it will be really agitating for you. But if I put this pen aside, then I'm more speaking with my hands. And this actually includes point number 3, to be more relaxed. So instead of playing around, just be aware when this kind of things are happening. And maybe you're gonna realize this as well in the other person. And this is just a sign of nervousness. So in order to improve that, just avoid twitching and playing with your hands. So avoid playing with your hands. This is longer than this line is. And excuse me for not writing it so clear, that's why I'm actually saying this. Okay, so the last point. Don't be speaking with your hands in front of your face. This shows that you are insecure and is harder to communicate. And don't do as well like this because nobody can understand you. If you do this, then at least do it like this. Okay? So you have your full face and you actually have that on the side. So the last point is, maybe you see most of the time people, they speak in this way. It's kind of showing like you're hiding something, and at the same time shows that you're afraid of doing something. These are all subconscious signs when you're speaking with somebody. So in order to avoid that, just, for example, instead of having you would like to know where to put the hands, like if you want to have a more authoritative position, then just put your hands on your hips. This is what most policemen do, which immediately builds authority. Or just have them on the side when you are walking. It's that simple. You just need to practice what feels right for you. These are just general, these are very impactful tips, but you have to find out what is your style, because your style counts more than any other style. There is as well as saying, be yourself because everyone else are taken. So by implementing these tips, so this avoid hands in your face. Avoiding hands in your face. By implementing these tips, make sure that you try them out, maybe at home, like in front of the mirror, that works great. And make it so that it feels natural and it feels like you. And this takes practice. So just be aware of this, implement it in your life, and you're gonna see how different you're gonna be communicating with people around and actually how they respond to you like a gentleman. So what we covered over here is more talking about body language. Now we are planning to talk more, we're gonna be making more videos on body language, on verbal communication. So if you want to be tuned on that, like you want to be updated on these kind of topics and you find them fascinating, then subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive more videos like these. And if you liked the video, then hit the like button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next